Hello. Hopefully you watched the video on how to find mean and standard deviation using Google Sheets. I also wanted to show you how to do this with the graphing calculator if you have one. I apologize, you may hear my dog barking in the background. I'm going to use the same data that we have here just so we can see some of the different features. When you are using this calculator, because we're in statistics, we're going to use the stat window to do any sort of data entering, and the very first choice you want is edit, so I'm going to choose enter there. And you may have something typed into your calculator depending on what you've done in the past. I want to just show you how to clear that out. Notice at the top you see L1, L2, L3. You need to go up to where L1 is highlighted, and you need to hit clear, and you need to hit enter. If you accidentally hit delete, it will delete the entire row, and you do not want to do that. If that happens, though, you can insert it, which will do second delete, which is insert, which is above, and you can name that L1, and you'll get back to that. But hopefully that doesn't happen to you. So I'm going to enter this data in, 54, 15, 78, 58, 26, 17, 20, and 35. Now, this is, I'll try to get in a little bit closer here for you. This is where you enter your data, and now what we'd like to do is we'd like to calculate with it. So we're going to go back out. Now, one thing that you want to do, any sort of math that you need to do needs to be done in the main window. You're going to do second quit, and we're going to choose stat, and we want to calculate. So you're going to arrow over to calculate, and we have one variable right now that we're working with, so we're going to choose that very first one variable stats. Now, the calculator is going to ask you, where is this data? And we put this data in L1. It's possible you could have put it somewhere else, and so you're going to tell the calculator where you would put that. I'm going to show you real quick if you just have an 83, which I didn't put the data in, but if you run a one variable stats there, it will not pull up this window. It assumes your data is in L1. If you are concerned, you can always do second one, which above that is L1, and that'll give you the same information. We're going to calculate that. I'm going to use this calculator, and there's a ton of information here. This first one, X bar, remember that is the mean. We got 37.875, and hey, we got 37.875 when we used Google Sheets. This sigma x, if you remember that sigma means add them up, says if I added all those x's up, it equals 303. There may be some stuff later in the course where you might want the sigmas of x squareds. This right here, you might recognize that number, 22.9996118. This is the standard deviation. So x bar and s of x, that's mean and standard deviation. Now, this is the Greek letter sigma lowercase. It also means standard deviation. We will never use that value from the calculator. You will always use s of x. N equals 8 tells you there's 8 things. And you might recognize some values here. This is something that Google Sheets does not do quite as easily. We can do this on paper, but notice what we get here. Look at that. Minimum, Q1, median, Q3, and maximum. Again, I need you to know how to do these on paper. I need you to know how to do them by hand, but you also should know how to use technology to double check your work. And there will be some times where I won't need to see your work by hand. I just need you to know the methods behind it. So this works really nice if you've got to create a box and whisker plot. Now, I want to show you something on the calculator as far as graphing. Now, the calculator is nice, but it's hard to copy and paste it to your computer, but you can take a photo of it and send it to me. If you want to do any sort of graphing, notice that above y equals is stat plot. And since we're graphing statistics, we're going to do second y equals. We're going to turn our first graph on, and there's 6 different types of graphs here. We can have a scatter plot, we can have a line graph, we can have a histogram, we can have box and whisker plots, and we can have something called a normal probability curve, which unless you go into AP statistics or take statistics in college, you won't need to worry about that. The one I'd like you to really look at is the first box and whisker plot. It's a little different. It's going to show you outliers, and that's really nice to see. So again, my data is in L1. You can leave frequency as 1. The mark, I think the first one is the best, and my calculator says it's going to be blue. And one thing that we're going to do for the graph, this is something that you do, you go to Zoom, and if you find choice 9, it says Zoom Stat. What that will do is make sure that you have a graph that fits your data. So when I do that, I get my box and whisker plot. Now, I can see that this is right skewed. It doesn't show the values, but if you hit trace, you can see your minimum, Q1, median, Q3, and maximum. And then you could draw your scale on your paper and make sure that you have covered all of those values. Anyway, there's a lot to learn on this calculator. I hope this helps to help you find mean and standard deviation. And if you have any questions on this, just let me know. Thank you.